Okay, I would like to call to order our town hall meeting. For those of you who aren't familiar, this is our second version of this. We're learning as we go, so patience is appreciated. But we will begin our second town hall. Kim, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Austin.
Present.
Ms. Wedge. Here. Mr. Webb.
Here.
Vice Mayor Anderson.
Here.
And Mayor Buick.
Here.
Madam Mayor, let me explain why I say present. My first grade teacher at Saltfield slapped my hand one day for saying here, and so I've just always learned to say it, and I apologize that I'm the odd one that says that, but I wanted everyone to know why I say that.
Well, if it'll make you feel better, I'll start saying present too. I don't think anybody has a ruler, so no one's going to smack you, but that muscle memory is significant. There's nothing wrong with good manners.
Thank you.
Okay, so, I'm going to laugh every time you say that now. So now, we have to approve our town hall meeting, we've called the roll. Now we need to approve our town hall meeting agenda.
I'd make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
So the motion was made by Mr. Webb. It was seconded by Mr. Anderson. We need to vote on this. Kim, will you please, is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, Kim, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Austin.
Aye.
Ms. Wedge. Aye. Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Anderson.
Aye.
And Mayor Buick.
Aye. Okay, so, I'd like to go back to our original rules. During our first version of this, we went over our 15-minute time limit, and today we're going to stick to our 15-minute time limit. If there is further discussion on the issues that we bring up today, then we can revisit them at another town hall, or we can revisit them with town staff and individual council members so that we can reach a resolution. And the reason we're doing this is so that if we have more than one topic at further meetings, we want to be fair to those people and give them equal time as well. And, you know, I feel like that we can begin the discussion and continue outside of this meeting. So, I am going to call forward Mr. Greg Lilly, who is going to bring forward his concerns about citizens' quality of life and visitors' town experiences as relating to the noise ordinance.
Thank you. I'm Greg Lilly of 244 East Valley Street, Abington, Virginia, 24210. Thank you for the opportunity. What I want to talk about is really the quality of life for the citizens and the town experience for our visitors, specifically to the noise ordinance. Our tourism brands us as a place where visitors and residents enjoy walking along the sidewalks, dining outside, walking and biking the Creeper Trail. But this is interrupted many times by loud racing engines, audio systems on open-air vehicles, and barking dogs that are left alone. It gets difficult to live, work, and play in peace in this town at times. The comprehensive plan, there's an economic development goal. And in it, it says Abington will continue improving its downtown and quality of life in order to make the town a top destination for talented people and firms. If you're after a creative economy where people work from home, like a writer or an artist, it's almost impossible to work when your windows rattle from trucks and cars and music coming from them going down the street, or also having dogs bark incessantly. The noise ordinance, just to give a quick overview, town provides an environment for its citizens that is free from noise at levels which can jeopardize their health or welfare or which degrades quality of life. Noise is intrusive, it's invasive, and at times it's aggressive. Prohibited 24 hours a day are vehicles with unnecessary racing or accelerating motors, modified vehicles for excessive noise or to backfire, audio systems to create excessive noise, which is plainly audible 50 feet from the motor vehicle, and muffler modifications, and that's a code of Virginia. For animals, overnight between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m., it is prohibited to have them plainly audible in any other person's residential dwelling with doors and windows closed. During the day from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., when the animal is plainly audible and discernible across real property boundaries or through partitions common to residential dwellings, such sound can be heard for more than 5 consecutive or non-consecutive minutes in any 10-minute period of time. Now, of course, we know there are exceptions, things like the ball field announcements, church chimes, bells, parades, emergency vehicles. We understand that, auctions, and by special permit. My question, and what I'd like to hear some discussion from our elected officials, is first, how has this become an issue? It affects tourism, it affects our quality of life. So I guess that's the first question I have to you. How did we get here? Well, okay.
I would say growth. I mean, I think growth to some degree, you're more people, more opportunity for breaking whatever rules there are, or potentially, I don't know, affecting the quality of life.
And sometimes with these cars, I feel like they're illegal almost. They're so loud, and I'm thinking,
Sure.
could that be legal? I don't think they are legal.
And I
Well,
also think it's
yeah.
difficult to enforce. Even though they are illegal, it's difficult to enforce because the police force has to hear it exactly when it happens and stop it exactly when it happens. And sometimes that's really difficult to do because, you can't be everywhere at once. If they hear it, then I think that they certainly try to take care of it. But the problem is that sometimes it happens and then, it's just like speeding. Sometimes you speed and you don't get caught. Sometimes you have, an illegal car and you don't get caught. So I think enforcement is difficult. You're not the only citizen who has brought this up. I do know that we did enforce a barking dog complaint this week, I've been told. So, and there is nothing worse than a barking dog.
And I will add to that, I have had, let's say neighbors that have had dogs that make excessive noise. And for the record, people need to bring that to the attention of the APD when it's active. Because a lot of times people like to complain about it, but they don't actually take the time to report it.
Right, so
And
is
until
that,
it's-
is that the question, is it up to the citizens? Is that our initiative that we need to pick
You
up
have
the
to
phone?
register a
Yeah,
complaint.
I think someone has to report it, whether it's me hearing it or you're my neighbor,
Right.
you hearing it, whoever. But now I will say, nothing gets under my skin more than a dog barking all night long.
I
It's
have
very,
that in
very-
my
Agreed.
neighborhood. I live on Highland Street. I have neighbors to the left of me, neighbors to the right of me, with dogs that bark all day long. I have people that live on Madison Street, Lowland Street, and B Street as well. And my response to them when they talk about the barking dog, the more people that complain, the better off it's gonna be. And I hate to say it like that, but
Yeah.
you have to call and make the complaint. When you register a complaint, the cops will come out. I don't know, before, previous, let's just say last year at this time, it was kind of just like you said, 10 minutes. By the time the police came out and started monitoring, the dogs would stop barking.
Right.
Or they would take the dogs back inside. 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, boom, there it goes again. Maybe some people have adjusted themselves to saying, well, or some people just like, a lot of people don't want to register the complaint because they're not going to do anything about it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I assure you that if you register a complaint with the Abingdon Police Department, someone will come out because they have been coming out when the complaints have been made on Kingsmouth.
Well, I don't want to think that my fellow citizens
Right.
are doing anything on purpose. So do you think it's a lack of communication? They just don't know?
Some
what the
people just don't
ordinance are?
care. I think some people don't care, and I think that some people have that mindset that this is my yard, this is my property, I can do what I wanna do on this property. And then that's where you have to back away, and you have to say, hey, I have to be the bigger man, and maybe I need to call the
third
police
party, yes.
before this gets into a verbal or physical altercation.
And you know, some people don't change their practice until they're forced to.
Right.
You know, but I would, you know, again, I've already said that it gets under my skin, but it's also somewhat
stand up.
abusive to the animal. If
Yeah.
they're barking for
They're in
10 hours
distress.
straight, they're probably not happy, so, anyway,
I would not want my dog outside barking.
correct.
Yeah.
It would upset me.
Do you have a suggestion on how we can better handle
Yeah.
that, or?
What would be yours? Yeah, that's right.
For
Derek. That's a
me,
good
I
question.
think education's first. I think the ordinance need to be, I don't even know if we have a communications department in town. But there needs to be some kind of communication to the public about this is an issue. And, you know, watch your animals, watch your volume on your audio systems, on your cars. It needs to be so that people, ignorance of the law, of course, is no excuse, but I think there is a lot of ignorance as to what the actual laws
Do you
are.
think maybe if we were to, I don't know if this would work, like I said, we're all working at this together, I don't know if this needs to be something that needs to be sent out to everyone that has a town address, whether you have a dog or not. These are
Maybe
just the
notices.
rules, these are just, you know.
I don't know how expensive
I
that
don't
would
know-
be,
I
but
don't know-
that's a
I don't
good
know,
idea.
Mike, was that
I was gonna say,
something
I could do a
that
Mondays with the
maybe-
mayor. I don't know how many people actually watch the Mondays with the mayor, but we have been trying to use that to get, you know, we did one on crosswalk safety
Right.
a few weeks ago. So I'm happy to film one about the noise ordinance, just for
Good.
general information.
Right,
You
yeah.
know, and then it's on social media and it's on our website, and if somebody has a question, they can refer to it. And then we can even, you know, flash the noise ordinance up on the screen and tell people how to refer to it if they have questions.
It'd be nice if they could find it easily.
So we can, that's another way that we can get the information out, and that's super easy to do. I'm more than happy to do that, and I can talk to you more about that later. Also, you know, the other thing about the cars is sometimes they're not our citizens. Sometimes they're people passing through. You know, I think a lot of times when we see these large groups of motorcycles that are really loud, I'm on Valley Street also, so my windows rattle too. Especially when you have these old windows, it doesn't take much for them to rattle. You know, sometimes I don't think that those are people who necessarily live in the town limits. So, you know, they just may be driving through on a pretty Sunday afternoon, a whole gang of motorcycles, and then that's really loud. And so, you know, unless we catch them right in that minute, it's really hard. I mean, it'd be hard for our policemen to do the old Dukes of Hazzard style, sit at the town limits and pull them over as they come through, you know, but, I mean.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure it's not allowed.
No, I mean, it's not. I mean, no, I mean, they are, but I'm talking about, you know, that's just one thing that I'm thinking about. Like when we have like 20 of them going flying through town all at once, that's really
Well, the nice
loud.
thing about that is transient. They're not stopping and sitting there like outside the tavern when people are trying to have brunch. They
Right.
just move on through, which
Right.
is nice. I know there are other people that want to speak, so
Okay.
Brian, you want to come up?
And by the way, for the record, I did bring up the manhole cover that I heard in front of your all's house the other day.
Good, I was glad.
So that's a noise complaint, but I did talk to the town manager about that.
Manhole covers. I wonder if that one in particular passed inspection on your due diligence. Good afternoon. My name is Brad Doris, 244 Valley Street, Northeast. I'm not sure where we are on time. You said 15 minutes, so I'm a little confused. Do I have the time to say a few
Yes, you go right on
things?
ahead.
Okay. First, again, I would like to thank you for hosting these monthly forums. We appreciate the opportunity to have open dialogue with our elected officials. And what I thought I'd do is just make a few comments and then pose a few questions at the very end of those comments. I know we're here today to talk specifically about the noise ordinance, but it's hard to single out any one ordinance without mentioning some of the larger issues necessary for its enforcement. And I know this is a sore subject given some of the recent discussion today, but one of which is giving the police department all the tools and resources, like being fully staffed, they need to proactively enforce all the laws and ordinances already on the books, all of which were put in place for good reason. And when I mean resources, I mean like radar guns, decibel readers, things like that. They should have those at their disposal.
Do you guys have that
Thanks, Judy.
equipment? Okay.
You've got one on your phone. I looked them up. You can get them on Amazon. They're not very expensive. It wouldn't be hard to do. And given the discussion about the motorcycles and trucks going through town, I'm sorry, am I the only one that constantly hears these trucks go from the movie theater all the way down to Russell Road? You can hear them. They go by the police department itself. And I can tell you, it's just frustrating to me that there's just so little proactive enforcement of the laws and ordinances on the books. I'm a retired banker, and I can tell you one of the biggest issues federal examiners had with us was banks not enforcing their own policies. So I hold you accountable for the enforcement of the laws and ordinances governing this town. As Greg mentioned, noise issues are much worse than sight issues because they are invasive and downright intimidating, as other people have spoken before me. So I'm skipping ahead because Greg and other people have already said some things. The things that the town could do is publicize the updates to the ordinances. When the dog ordinance, for example, was updated, it's so confusing. For example, the town ordinances do not flow well. Chapter 10 discusses animals, but is not cross-referenced or hyperlinked to Chapter 30K, Environment, Article 2, Noise-3032, Specific Prohibitions, Section K, which also discusses dogs. It's impossible for dog owners to go and say, what are the current ordinances, without reading the entire manual. I mean, there should be hyperlinks within those ordinances. And the updates to the ordinances should be posted on the website. Make it easy, communicate with the citizens. The Code Compliance Department and the complaint form itself are not conducive for noise complaints. So you're saying it's up to the citizens to call in those complaints or fill out the complaint form, but there's no mention about confidentiality. And I think a lot of people are concerned, as Derek, as you mentioned, about having, pitting neighbor against neighbor.
I understand that.
So I think the compliance form really should say, do you want this to be confidential? Because a lot of people don't want to, you don't want to get it on.
You
What
don't
are
want
the
to throw rocks if
legalities
you live in a
of
glass
that?
house.
Yeah.
Under FOIA, what are the legalities of that under FOIA, Cam? Do we know right off the bat, or is that something we need to look into?
Well, depend on the document, but yeah, I'm
Okay.
sure we could come up with something.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would think if you call dispatch, the police dispatch or sheriff's dispatch, dispatches for us and just remain anonymous, I mean.
I think it's a waste, to be honest with you, to call the town. I think starting with communication, if you just, it's awareness communication, I think could really preemptively get a lot of people on board, and I think it would bring them into better compliance with this. I mean, I've had dogs most of my life. I don't have a dog currently, but I've never lived in a jurisdiction that didn't have strict prohibitions against dog barking that were strictly enforced. That's what gets me. There's just no enforcement.
Did we
here.
change ours since
Yeah.
I've been on council, it's been changed, and we discussed it in
Yeah.
council.
Yeah, and that's what
So maybe we
Greg-
could link as a follow-up to this meeting, maybe we could highlight that, if we could, in the minutes of this meeting, highlight maybe, I know that's work for you, Kim, if we could highlight where that is so that people could refer to that,
Yeah, and
make it
all-
easy for people to find that
Yeah,
information.
in the last 2 years, we've had 6 animal complaints, so a total of 12 animal parking complaints received. 8 of them we've issued warnings on, so, I mean, we do actually respond to those calls.
I mean, we have several neighbors that have dogs, but only one of those neighbors has one that's an aggressive dog. And there's a big difference between a friendly bark and a junkyard dog that barks constantly. And other neighbors have said they're even afraid to walk down the alley for fear that aggressive dog is going to jump the fence. So my question, with all that being said, my question to you, and speaking of the police department, are we going to measure those results? I mean, if we're going to do these increases, because I'm so frustrated with the lack of enforcement, there should be some results measurement, either in, staffing levels should be improved. I don't know how you measure their, ticketing, enforcement, that kind of stuff. There should be a measurement associated with it.
Now, the ordinances are posted online, updates.
They are, but they're extremely confusing for citizens. I mean, you can get to all the ordinances, but like I said, they're not linked. You've got animals in one section, which goes into dogs, and then you've got noise, which is in a completely separate section under environment, and there's no cross, if you're reading about dogs over here, there's no mention about the noise ordinance surrounding them. or
Well,
related
perhaps
to
we
it.
could link that information in the minutes of this meeting, and then that would,
And our code actually does that for us.
Okay,
Our
okay.
general code.
okay. And then also, I think that, we have like Mike was able to give us a printout of the different noise complaints we've had. So I think that we can gather that information, and that's something that we can revisit and keep a good eye on. I know with the speeding situation, that's one of the things, for example, with the radar cameras, that lets us quantify how many people are speeding, and we've been able to show in numbers that with the radar signs, that the number of people speeding has gone down.
They have helped a lot.
So, we are working to quantify some of our data. So, and with technology, which is always improving, those numbers improve. So we will work on that, definitely.
Okay.
And just a point of order, for measuring tickets versus performance, we do know how many tickets we write. We don't have quotas for people. That would be illegal. That they just do enforcement as they see, as it sees fit. So just wanted to point that out.
And I just want to say, if the problem still continues, please call dispatch, please call the law, so it will be on record. It will be on record that you've made the call, so
Okay.
if you feel any kind of way, please pick up the phone and call dispatch so that it can be recorded and the police can come out and check it out to where there won't be any discretion between you and the neighbor or your neighbor.
Yeah, I tried talking to that neighbor, and they went through
So
the list.
please feel free, the first step to do that I would suggest is to
Okay.
please call dispatch and report that.
Or email or call or text one of us, because we should know. I had a neighbor call me, call me a couple times one day saying, "Why are all these trucks in town? What is going on?" And then it turns out I was able to tell him, "Hey, there's been a wreck on the interstate. The interstate is closed. That's why there are all these trucks in town." And he was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." But sometimes we have some information that you all may not have, and we can answer the question and help out. So it's always good to keep us in the loop. And I'm always available if you want to shoot me a text or email.
Okay.
And I think everybody sitting here is.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was a great topic.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have nothing else on the agenda for this today. We will follow up with those suggestions, and there are some very good ones included. If there's nothing else to discuss, then I will adjourn our meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.